Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, speed gamers around the world, Zelda fans alike. You are tuned into Speed Gaming for another A Link to the Past Randomizer Standard Tournament 2021 groups match. This is Game 2 between Sailor Nep and saiontea. I am Eudaimonistic, joined today by Slim Kirby. Slim, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing quite fine, Udai. I am looking forward to this match. As you said, this was a Game 2 between these two randomizer participants. Game 1 actually went the way of saiontea, so he is looking to clinch this one to potentially move on to the next match of the group stage. Sailor Nep trying to force a Game 3. So it should be a very entertaining game we have here.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't been following the tournament so far, this is just standard mode with a hard item pool. That's pretty much all there is to it. So we'll see an escape sequence here out of the two runners, with the same items, of course, for the Uncle weapon, as is the hallmark of standard mode. And from there, it'll basically be just a who's the better rando player.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess to lead on that, with the way we are doing the group stage this time, much like last time, basically, each group is separated into 4 individuals based on what quartile they finished in the qualifiers. Sailor Nep was in the first quartile, which is basically the top 32, and saiontea, actually an interesting case here. saiontea was placed 130th in the qualifiers, was just under the cutoff line, but did actually make it in due to some drops, and must be feeling pretty good about their win, considering that actually, kind of came into this tournament as a bit of an underdog and kind of starting with a really nice win.
Yeah, Sailor Nep, a well-known runner in the community, somebody who is very difficult to beat in a lot of formats. To get that kind of win, some would call that an upset. I think anybody who's in the groups of this tournament stands a chance at beating almost anybody else. It was a brutal qualifier field to get here.
Yeah, you even mentioned the hard item pool that we're going to be dealing with for this tournament. That definitely going to really bring the execution in play. I did get a quick map check there. We do have a green pendant on the Tower of Hera, and I believe we had just 2 crystals in the other dungeons.
Yeah, it didn't look like either of those were 5/6.
Okay.
And of course, if you're looking at your monitor wondering what in the world's going on with Sailor Nep's side, as we get that cane of Samaria, you don't need to adjust your color settings on your screen because we do actually allow palette shuffle for this tournament, which is a newer thing. We've had some updated versions of that, unless that's not a palette shuffle and I am just looking at this funny.
No, it's definitely a palette shuffle. Green's house was like bright green, Link's house, so yeah, that's I think he's using palette shuffle, so
sudden crisis of, oh wait, are my eyes working? It does, it's a testament to how much better the palette shuffle is than it used to be, though.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, see, this is definitely.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of seeing stuff like this. I mean, you look at Zelda so many times in this game, just the exact same. Nice to mix it up a bit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as you see, we have the Cane of Samaria for our escape weapon this time. Honestly, a pretty fun item to use. It has a lot of versatility. You can set the blocks down and bully guards with it. You can pick them up and throw the blocks, detonate the blocks. A lot of really interesting tech you can use with the cane. And it doesn't really use a lot of magic either, so this should be a pretty simple escape sequence to get through.
Yeah, and while it is kind of difficult to use all of that magic meter, you are forced to at least keep that in mind. Don't accidentally use all of it. I think you would have to take like a save and quit back to a checkpoint here in the castle if you did run out of magic and didn't have any available, which would be pretty difficult to do, actually. There's a lot of magic pots.
Yeah, and at this point, we're not going to be in a case where we're going to be using bombs because we already found our bomb drop from a guard, so we don't need to farm bombs off of any other enemies.
And if that weren't enough, the glove that we just picked up would let us drop back in after buying him. So
That's true.
We're insured against missing anything here.
Yeah.
Which is definitely nicer than, say, a lot of the standard starts that we've seen where you just don't get a bomb. Of course, the drops that enemies give you, those tables are randomized as far as which enemies have which stun prizes and prize packs is what I'm thinking of. So, there's a chance that you don't get an accessible bomb.
Mm-hmm. Both runners actually do opt to use pot strats for both hits on the guard. Cane of Samaria you can use just fine, but it does take a couple of hits to kind of get the guard down, so I think using the pots is definitely a little bit faster in that case.
All right, well, our runners are going to continue to make their way through the rest of the castle escape sequence, sailing up with an apparent about a screen lead based on that ball and chain guard. Of course, this is always the best time in any kind of Zelda run to talk about our favorite mechanic, pumping, which, you know, a quick nuance about how Link moves as far as, the animation goes. His walking animation cycles between 2 frames per second, or 2... I'm going to mix this. 2 pixels per frame and 1 pixel per frame. And it just so happens that you start on the 2 facing left or up. So you can mash D-pad directions to try and maximize your speed. Very difficult to do, but small incremental time saves. Beyond that, though, as far as the rest of this escape sequence goes, it's pretty much going to come down to how you handle the combat of the sewer rooms. In particular, the key rat, which is actually not that hard to deal with the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, definitely not. As I mentioned before, Cane of Samaria, very versatile in how you can use it, so key rat should not be too hard to lock down.
Alrighty, unfriendly RNG from the snakes, or the Ropas, I guess you can call them, for saiontea. But both of them appear to be neck and neck as we head into the last regular check of the escape before the secret room. Map will mean that we have to open the sanctuary chest. You could skip it if that was, by rules of exclusion, going to have a map.
Right.
Okay, Keyrat being a bro on both screens. saiontea getting a little bit of even extra boost out of that Keyrat. A little low on health. Has to watch out with the bomb here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if he got hit by that bomb, that would have been lights out there.
Figuratively and literally, as he would have been back to the sewers. We're going to get some ammo and some health and rupees here. It's not a whole lot.
Yeah, basically just making the top part of our HUD a little happy as we get arrows, hearts, and rupees, so...
Alrighty, we don't have to hold right as we exit that door to cancel the text box, but both of them are going to be through to the sanctuary roughly 6 minutes, a little bit longer than that. With a Cane of Samaria, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's really not. You generally hear a lot of people talk about, you want to have like a 6-minute escape, in some cases a sub 6-minute escape, but you're not always going to have, like, you don't have the sword like you do in Vanilla Link to the Past. And Cane of Samaria, while a great weapon, is, I'd say, a little bit slower than kind of getting through the section with the sword. So yeah, I'd say around closer to 6 minutes is a pretty good time there.
All right, Slim, so we're seeing a little bit of divergence here. What are your thoughts and opinions regarding checking all the way up through the lumberjack item this early on?
I'm personally in favor of making this check. I know some people will opt to wait till they have the boots just to kind of get up here a little faster, but up here, I mean, you see what's on the lumberjack tree. We know it's 10 arrows. We know that there's not going to be an item here. It's really just good intel to have this early on. You don't know if you're going to be doing Aghanim or not, but, on the off chance you can get that information that you will be doing it early, you might kind of make the play to go to him earlier to kind of better your routing a little bit. So I think it's always good to have that information as soon as possible.
Yeah, I personally loathe the situation where I got to choose to mirror outside of, say, Bumper Cave to find out, and it's way too late. But hey, we got some great items here in the forest. Bombos medallion and the flute. Really nice to have that flute walking into the town.
Yeah, the flute's going to be really, really good, especially this early on with kind of light world movement. Going to be able to check some of the kind of the more out of the way locations a little faster, and will allow us to not really have to worry about saving and quitting either once we get done with Kakariko. So we'll just kind of allow us to get through the light world section a little faster.
And to add on to the bountiful value in Lost Woods, we're finding out that there's, I believe, a tier 2 triple or maybe tier 1, 4 bomb stacks, as well as our bush crab having, big red 20s. So we are already well on our way. Is that a hammer?
I believe it is. We did find a hammer, and we did also find the ether medallion down here in the greenhouse.
Nothing but rupees and coins, and it seems like Hyruleans are rich these days.
Yeah. The golden age of Hyrule, I guess.
So Triforce is still out there somewhere. The Golden Land's still available.
Yeah.
Canonically speaking, we haven't broken that seal yet.
That's true, yeah.
Alrighty, well timed for saiontea. Popping over the back chest, getting just 20 rupees from that, a little bit more health, and a little more money, and just a chip closer towards Zora. So we are just about 30 rupees out from that. I think he's still got to buy the bottle vendor item, though.
That's true, but we're also just in that threshold where a quick Houlihan room trip could also put them up the rest of the way. And we still have a lot of items we still have to check early on in Sphere 1 locations, so we should be able to feel pretty comfortable when it comes to Zora money right now.
Alrighty, just 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and that bird is already off of the statue and off the screen. That still leaves the rest of Kakariko to check. However, if you wanted to leave, you could right now.
Yeah, there's not too many locations left to check, though, so I think it makes sense to at least kind of finish up here. Check the chicken coop, check the tavern, and also check the librarian race game, as we do find the moon pearl here in the chicken coop.
It makes you wonder what those chickens were conspiring, or perhaps the moon pearl works in the opposite direction for them. Dark world, the light world.
Yeah, it could be.
Alright, just the back of the tavern here, as we cannot check for the bottle location with Sick Kid, or not the bottle, the Bugnet location. We will check the race game real quick, and I imagine head either south or east.
And you see, the interesting thing is the runners do have kind of an opportunity here where they actually do have Dark World access right now. So they could even, if they wanted to make kind of a crazy little play here, they could go right back up to the north of Kakariko, or really just anywhere there's a Dark World portal, and kind of check there and maybe get started on Dark World stuff if they feel like that's the next chain of progression.
Yeah, Glove and Hammer gives you 3 whole portals, Kakariko, south of Link's house, and over in the Eastern Palace area. And you could at least finish Thieves Town.
That's true, yeah.
Wouldn't be very nice of the game, but...
Well, I mean, even still, our runners do have, for this early on, pretty decent amount of hearts, all things considered.
Yeah, I would definitely feel like I could do Thieves Town with 6 or 7 hearts like that. 3 or 4 is where it really starts to hurt. Oh. So saiontea rewarded for checking, getting the lamp. Sailor Nep says, no, I don't need that trash. Never mind. Fluted, dodged the duck, said, I don't need that trash bird. And decided to get the lamp.
Yeah.
Is this kind of like canceling your ride on like Uber?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Poor duck. Probably gonna get a 1-star review that didn't deserve it.
I know.
Well, we did in fact pull over for the drive-thru here for the lamp. A little bit of fast food as we make our way south. We see saiontea already in the dam. Closing the first or opening the first chest and pulling on that switch to drain the dam. So we'll have another item location here and some opportunity to head west or east, I guess, if you wanted to check Agina's real fast in the desert area, or go straight to Mini Moldorm. I can't see why you'd skip these checks though, like if you had Dark World access and didn't already go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just with these, just with Dam and Mini Moldorm Caves, that is 7 items right there. 8 if you want to add on the Ice Rod Cave as well. So there's still plenty of stuff that can be found here. And while Dark World is an option, it doesn't hurt to maybe kind of fish around for a few more items, which could kind of make your next location in Dark World like more defined. Like if you get like the Fire Rod or something, well, okay, maybe I should go to Skull Woods first before I go to Thieves Town. Stuff of that nature.
Yeah, I most certainly would just want to have a sword above anything else. I mean, yeah, any other progressive item helps, make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's more comfort thing. It feels safer when you can stab things.
Oh, for sure. Although I guess we would also need that sword to finish Skullwoods as well, too, so that is fair.
Right, we tend to lock on to that fire rod so much, but that's totally a needed thing. Alrighty, well, a divergence here, saiontea heading to the Ice Rod Cave. Sailor Nep did not want to waste the time on that yet. As it looks like we're going to get Dark World access for the first time in the Dark World progression for the first time. 14 minutes in here on Sailor Nep's side. Well, looking like time saved. saiontea finding pretty much garbage there in the Ice Rod Cave.
I did see a pendant at Thieves Town and Ice Palace, so we have our 3 pendants. The rest of them are crystals. I think I did see a red crystal at Swamp. I did not see where the other one was, though.
Looks like it was Thieves Town.
Or no, Skullwoods.
Okay, cool. Well, not so much of a hype cave. Yeah, I see it now. I'm getting a longer look. So, yeah, Skullwoods, Swamp Palace, and then we got our remaining pendants, Thieves Town, and Ice. So, yeah, it's an interesting dungeon configuration. We still need a lot of items in order to access a lot of this stuff. Definitely going to need a mirror and hookshot for Swamp. Both rods, some kind of bow.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting that you immediately brought up Thieves Town as being completable, which, yeah, it is, but it is a pendant now. But we did find a sword on Stumpy.
Which certainly makes it more appealing to do Thieves Town, although we can't go directly there from here. Now, we'll get a dig game here from Sailor Nep, unless it's a Titan's Mitts we're completing this route.
And it looks like saiontea is going to be following suit here.
Yeah, that's good fortune. It could be actually a while before we find another sword. Or it could be just, the next 2 minutes. It tends to be that way when you're calling it. But
Right.
Missing that sword could have been very big, a slowing down kind of element in the seed.
Yeah, totally. And it all kind of came down to like where they started their Dark World access from, because yeah, if they started from the Kakariko entrance, yeah, it may have been a bit before they actually went over to Stumpy's area. So, sometimes just choosing where you start can be very, very important in how the seed kind of goes through the motions.
Of course, the randomizer could have spited both of us and put 3 swords in Thieves Town. As a reminder, all of the items are still in the pool with the hard item pool. To the for those of you who aren't familiar with it, but you are capped at a certain number. So you could have 4 swords in the game and find your 3rd one somewhere else besides your opponent, but you will never get a 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, well, we have the lamp, so saiontea gonna go help out our old man friend, and Sailor Nep not far behind. I gotta say, this is the cave that makes me most appreciate the randomizer patch taking out all those text boxes.
Oh yes. When I played this, the original vanilla version of the game at some point within the last few months, I was like, my gosh, I forgot how many text boxes are in this one cave.
Just furiously mashing L and R at the end of every single one of them.
Yeah.
It took until learning how to speedrun this game for me to realize that you can use L and R as like text box cancels, and it still works in Randomizer. You're just more prone to quick swapping an accident.
Okay, saiontea does make it through the mountain of tumbling cabbages with just 1 heart, able to see what's on the... Ooh, that item looks nice.
Was that a rod?
It was a hookshot, actually, on top of a Spectacle Rock.
Of course, a little bit of irony there that it's in a higher up, hard-to-reach location. That, I guess if you were thinking in 3D terms, would be the thing you'd want to gather it with.
Right, and that means that there are our only way up through Death Mountain right now is the mirror, because yeah, we need the mirror to get that hook shot, which would be the other way. So yeah, we're gonna need to find that mirror somewhere.
Well, we can reflect on the logic more as we find out where that mirror is. Still out there at large, so we're not going to be able to shine any light on that just yet. Bushels of crabs over here at the Ice Rod Cave. We saw Sailor Nep almost get bodied there.
Oh yeah, Sailor Nep actually took damage as they were entering the cave there, so got kind of lucky that they had enough hearts.
Yeah, it was just one more hit would have been enough. We will not get mail upgrades throughout this race with hard item pool, so yeah, those crabs are actually quite a bit more lethal than normal, at least with this much health in this seed. Alrighty, a fake flipper attempt here for Sailor Nep. Looks like we're going to see either the Hobo or Zora using sword buffers to try and get the lineup. As saiontea takes us into Skull Woods. So, I mean, we got the rupees. I think I agree with this decision. You get a water walk out of the waterfall cave.
Yeah, I'd say so. And at the very least, you can't get all the items, but you at least get the intel on the final item that's up here on Zora Ledge as well. So we'll see if we... Okay, we don't get anything from the Waterfall Fairy Cave, but will Zora have something for us?
I'm kind of curious if we have enough to do the Ancilla setup for Splash Fleet. If anybody could do it, I bet you it'd be Sailor Nep.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay,
Not necessary. Good.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that now.
Meanwhile, not seeing a whole lot here out of Skull Woods. saiontea has found the dungeon items, it looks like.
Would be very unfortunate if both items happen to be in the back, and it's looking like that could almost be the case.
And as we find out that if you invest a whole lot of money into a fish monster, you get just a little bit of love. That's unfortunate.
Careful.
Whoa. Oh, this is 100% calculated, Slim. saiontea wanted the death word.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Which will save a key. If you want to head straight to the boss later, I guess you could check less.
That is true. Yeah, that is actually a good point there. Yeah, looks like both of our items will be in the back, unless we just saw one that was not important early on.
Yeah, so value either way, beyond the 5-6 crystal being present. We will get to see the bumper ledge here out of saiontea, and possibly a stun prize. I think that'd be the first one of the seed. Does not opt to check it.
And bumper ledge doesn't really seem that valuable either, so we are heading down to the Village of Outcasts, while Sailor Nep is going up to Skull Woods to check what saiontea just checked himself.
Yeah, looking like chat's confirming for us that there was a shield in the front half of Skull Woods. So we're looking at one item.
Right, yeah, that's right.
One fire rod locked item. Hopefully the standard trope of randomizer being annoying doesn't hold true for our runners there, because neither of them can really get that advantage for quite a while. I don't think we get that fire rod in the next couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps Thieves Town will prove me wrong again.
We'll see.
Now, there are a lot of folks who have very divided opinions about whether or not you go into or check the front 4 of Pendant Thieves Town. I'm inclined to think you should just do it, particularly if you get those boots there in the brewery. So Sailor Nep will likely see those boots very soon as well.
We are just finding all the money in the Village of Outcasts, but to be fair, you find those 300s in Thieves Town in the vanilla version too, so...
Indeed. Also, there's a little bit of weirdness with the red boomerang in the vanilla game, as you can get it from the Waterfall Fairy, but it can also show up in Village of Outcasts, and then it's replaced with money if you already have it.
Right.
Which is funny, because I don't think I ever found it normally through the Waterfall Cave. I'm pretty sure that's how I always found it growing up.
Yeah, same. back when I would download text walkthroughs from the internet and like print them all out, and like that's how I was like, oh yeah, go to this ferry for the next shield.
Yo, game FAQs is still my jam.
I know, yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, well, we would wish we could consult game FAQs for the item locations of the seed. It's such a option not possible, unfortunately. I think we'd want the mirror potentially as you're this deep into Thieves Town. saiontea cutting the losses going all the way back.
Okay, this is interesting. This is something I do find like it always becomes another kind of talking point when it comes to, you know, playing through these seeds fast, is like when you have a pendant Thieves Town, do you just check the first 4 or do you make the play all the way through? And you know, it can be, it's not the longest dungeon, but it can be quite the time investment, and depending on what you find in the front, there may not be a lot in the back, but sometimes in this particular seed it may have exactly what you're looking for.
I particularly like this choice when you have the boots available to you. Definitely a lot better to deal with compared to walking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no desert palace, but you definitely have some dash lines available to you in this dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Sailor Nep here will be clearing out the rest of Village of Outcasts, grabbing those boots, good maybe 5 minutes after saiontea, if that. And I presume going into Thieves Town. However, if Sailor Nep opens this, is that a check? Okay, good, good. Some folks who jumped right into the dungeon, that would have been bootsless for Sailor Nep.
Right. I'm always someone who wants to be cautious, like, you know, in case there's like something in the surrounding area that can help me get through the dungeon a little more. Obviously, these runners, they'd probably be a little more comfortable with being able to jump right in, but it's a good thing that Sailor Nep did keep going, because yeah, those boots would have made a huge difference in just getting through here quickly.
Well, hey, on the bright side, now that both of our runners have boots, truly the run can actually start now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta find more creative ways to make that fun.
I believe that you can, and you will.
Certainly the jokes are leaving me in the dust. As our runners kick up more of it, they are trying to dash their way through these hallways, and it's certainly a much more fun dungeon when you're actually able to dash. We didn't see a God Pixel from saiontea, but I'm sure Sailor Nep will attempt it. All right, alongside our early Dark World access is access to this big chest that is a little more health. saiontea sitting at a cool 1 grand of rupees. We're pretty much where we need to be in terms of our basics and essentials for most of the seed, although Sailor Nep has a healthy advantage in terms of hearts.
Yeah, and I believe that extra heart that Sailor Nep has actually came from a chest that saiontea actually skipped. I don't know if it was intentional or not, or just a mistake, or just something he forgot about. I think it was one of the Kakariko final cave checks, but still.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, probably the Thieves hideout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, 7 hearts not exactly uncomfortable, but having 9 would be a lot nicer. Of course, we will be capped at 14, one of those reserved for the Sanctuary Heart. Pretty excellent fight from saiontea there for blind, and I'm assuming that would have been a male upgrade.
Yeah. So unfortunately, nothing from Thieves Town that will progress the seed in any one strong direction, so gonna have to see where that next progression piece is gonna end up being.
Yeah, this did give us a green pendant, so we do have an opportunity to turn that in for one more item, and that may push our runners over towards Palace of Darkness. We could potentially be key locked. So saiontea taking the save and quit to cave and going to instead start at Sanctuary.
I think I know why. I'm gonna check the Bonk Rocks first before heading to where likely Eastern Palace, I imagine.
Oh, I see. I mistakenly thought Thieves Town was green pendant. That was red pendant. So maybe not looking for the turn in there, but I mean, yeah, it still seems like, you know, Eastern and Pod could potentially be the answer. All we really need to do both is the bow, which could totally be in either dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, that it feels like it hurts a lot when you get a bow in Palace of Darkness, because that's a thing that generally keeps people away from the dungeon.
Mm-hmm. And see, now that saiontea does have the boots, is opting to make this check over here to Lumberjack. Kind of what we talked about earlier. Some runners will wait till they actually get the boots before they check this, because at this point, once Aga becomes available, you can get that item. If you don't have the boots, you have to wait till you find the boots to get this item. So, and it's also just a faster way to get up there too. So it makes sense to kind of wait till you have them to check that.
Yeah, convenience paying off. That is a time save over Sailor Nup overall. As Sailor Nup is entering the blind fight proper, a little hard to see blind with this palette. All in all, going pretty well as we enter Sahasrah's hut on saiontea's side.
I believe that is one of the hearts that Sailor Nep actually has, since I think Nep did check this a bit earlier, right before they went to Skullwoods.
All right, looking like we will opt to either go towards... Well, he would have fluted if he was going towards the portal, so we're going to go straight into Eastern Palace. So I'm trying to think, I mean, there's no other dungeon we can really complete, is there?
Nope. No matter what, we're at least missing one item from our potential candidates here. Yeah, because we need the bow for this and pod, we need the fire rod for Skullwoods. We do find the Quake medallion here in Eastern, which doesn't give us any direction where to go right now, but with that find, we do know that all the medallions are going to be found here, so you shouldn't have any issues getting into Mire or Turtle Rock.
Or dealing with those pesky cucumbers.
True.
I gotta say, the magic use of the Link to the Past version of Link certainly superior to most of the other iterations.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sailor Nup opting to head into Spike Cave. We haven't seen this yet, and if we didn't have the cape, this would be a very difficult scenario to work through.
Yep, using the cape right there. Should have plenty of time to make it through the rest of this and find just 10 arrows.
Scumming that one immediately. We also found the mirror in Eastern Palace on saiontea's side.
Ooh.
Still short a big key, unfortunately.
Okay, well, even if we don't find anything in here that will help us complete this dungeon, that will pretty much give saiontea a good push into Death Mountain. He knows that the hook shot's up there. That'll allow him to complete Tower of Hera. He'll be able to get pretty much all of the east side of the light world of Death Mountain. So that's going to be a lot of items to get. And, you know, we will be able to get that green pendant as well.
So this is kind of bizarre. Sailor Nup, she's opting to walk away from the Palace of Darkness area after taking that portal, which is actually going to be rewarded because if you go into Palace of Darkness before Eastern, you're not going to have that mirror, which makes Pod unanimously better.
True, yeah. But we are going to see these kind of central and northeast Dark World checks of the pyramid, which we do have a rod here on the pyramid. I believe that's the ice rod.
Yeah, that's a bingo, as they say. Getting the ice rod is certainly the one piece of the puzzle that feels most frustrating to search for, is you really only need it for one thing. But I think both of our owners would probably prefer the fire rod at this point.
Yeah, fire rod will give us an immediate dungeon clear in the form of Skullwoods, and it just has better utility, I think, through the course of the run than what the ice rod would be. Ice rod only opens up one check, and it needs the fire rod along with it to make that check, so yeah, fire rod infinitely more helpful in this particular game.
Yeah, but as Sailor Nup is attempting to fish the catfish out of the lake, saiontea taking advantage of fishing out that mirror to immediately get that hook shot. So we'll see Tower of Hera, presumably with a Parapod, and certainly a friendlier route overall.
Mm-hmm.
So Sailor Nup, she's kind of in a rough spot right now as far as the progression of the seed goes. There's no obvious thing pointing towards that mirror.
Yeah, lately I have been seeing a lot of seeds where, Eastern does tend to be kind of put on the back burner for a while, mainly because of that mirror, because once you have the mirror and you get to Dark World, kind of routing that alongside Palace of Darkness just makes it so much more convenient overall. But you got to remember, Eastern Palace, it's one of those locations that's available from the very beginning of the game. Pretty much anything can be there, so it's not something you want to forget about for too long if the rest of the seed is just not really given anything to work with.
And hey, good news for fans of seeing this go to a Game 3 and fans of Sailor Nup in general. She is actually in Eastern Palace now. So alongside that Quake medallion, we will see the mirror. And in all likelihood, I would hope for the sake of a close match, a similar progression route. Sailor Nup will almost assuredly head immediately up to the mountain once she knows that you can't finish this dungeon.
That's true, and kind of fishing for some other item locations before heading here, not necessarily a bad thing. We know that the ice rod is on the pyramid ledge, and the more stuff that saiontea checks, and if he continues to find more items, that ice rod could be just kind of a loose square for a very, very long time, depending on how the rest of his routing goes. So, not necessarily a bad thing that Sailor Nup kind of took a little bit of a delay in getting here.
Yeah, as you mentioned, pyramid definitely the thing that you can leave off the table for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
We did see a Cainaburna here in is it the bottom or the top of Paradox Cave? I don't know which.
It's a paradox. No one knows.
Yes. Somewhere, someplace, there was a Cainaburna and the half magic and, wow, Master Sword. Sailor Nup going to continue on through the rest of Eastern Palace here, soon to get that big key and then dip. As saiontea has seen enough of the light side of the Death Mountain, we're out of here. Okay, this is interesting. Palace of Darkness now, despite having the bow or even a bottle to do a potion camera unlock.
Yeah, this is interesting, I will admit. I mean, I guess we haven't really gotten anything that will strongly push them in any other place. Like, we can't do Swamp, we don't have the Flippers, can't do any of the Ladder 3 Dark World dungeons either. I still don't have Fire Rod for Skull Woods. This is, I guess, still technically like the highest density item potential we can get right now.
Yeah, you're raising a solid point. I mean, it's basically all we got. I suppose we have maybe something like Graveyard Ledge or King's Tomb available at this point, but I mean, there's not a whole lot else.
Mm-hmm.
Chat rightly pointing out the fake flippering pendant ice would be funny, but you'd still need the Titan's mitts for that. So that's the one missing component there.
Yeah.
That would be quite a lad of a move or a lass of a move.
Yeah.
Well, Pod does provide the key. saiontea moving onwards. I think logically it has to at this point, unless there's a bow floating out there somewhere. But we will continue onwards, taking time to open up the bombable wall. Sailor Nup heading up to Tower of Hera now.
Now, saiontea did opt to not finish Tower of Hera, decided to just kind of, just get the first floor stuff and move on. So we'll see if Sailor Nup decides to stick around and finish up the dungeon, get that green pendant, and potentially turn that in.
Oh. That's a fast Herapod. Looks like we're at least going to look at the items. And that is just 50 rupees here in the lobby prior to Moldorm. saiontea moving on to the back of Palace of Darkness. I doubt we'll see a hammer jump here. I don't think we have the big key.
Is at least going to destroy that wall, though.
All right, bone to pick with a Moldorm, or at least a hammer to peg. Basically the tail here working pretty much like Tempered Sword slashes when you're using that hammer, so 3's good enough. And that is a green pendant for Sailor Nep, so that is a difference in total dungeon completions. So Hazarla having an item could potentially prove to be very difficult for saiontea to gather later. You're basically waiting for your Dark Death Mountain checks.
Yeah, pretty much. And well, we're about to come to the end of our pod dip here. Well, we do get a bottle. We were wondering about that. Do have the potential to actually use some form of mimic sipping, and we do find the Titan's mitts as well.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, I was about to start theory casting about how awful it would be, but I mean, you know, for that bottle to be important, but you know, you get those Titan's mitts. That's definitely the win of the day there.
Yeah, and this is actually nice in a couple of different ways. With those mitts, we do have all of the mire area available to us. There's also the blacksmith quest, which is also not bad to kind of route in some of those mirror locations that we have. So definitely a couple of different options here. We can get in the desert as well. So yeah, a lot of things we can do now with those Titansmiths.
saiontea opting to check the ledge prior to going into the mire area, and being that desert's available, as you mentioned, and we have everything we would need, actually. We have a fire source as well. Full completable. No point checking the medallion requirement. We have all 3 of those today. Ah, yes, more bottles. And this one's actually a little more useful. The first was a green potion. This is going to be a blue potion. So that is a lot of the healing and refilling that we're going to need for the entire seed.
Yep. And jumping straight into Misery Mire, we do have the ability to finish this dungeon, get both items here. And, you know, we have the cape, so Vitreous shouldn't be too bad either. Cape with half magic, for that matter. So, yeah, this should be a pretty reasonable clear here.
Yeah, it's definitely a dungeon you see a lot of people avoid for the sake of only having, you know, say 2 items. But being able to knock this out, you know, while you're doing desert and all the entire area, that feels really good as a runner. And the bow's still outstanding, so, you know, not a whole lot we can do to clear the other side of the world. I definitely agree with this choice. We'll see how much of Palace of Darkness Sailor Nep sticks around for. I imagine all the way to Thieves, or to the Titan's Mitts, though, at this point.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why you would go out without that at this point. Here's one of our mire items. We do get a heart container, which is definitely nice to find.
Yeah, slowly rolling up on that cap. As you mentioned before, up to 13 hearts to be found with a combination of heart containers and heart pieces, and then the 14th heart is always reserved for the sanctuary heart that replenishes our health. All right, saiontea continuing onwards through the first couple of checks. Not quite a Godmire. We did pick up 2 keys, which is nice. There are, of course, extra keys available in the dungeon. I don't think any of our runners in this tournament are going to go all the way to Fishbone to pick one up, but that's a room that deserves a shout-out for how little it's seen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wonder what was going on with the Nintendo devs when they made rooms like that.
Must have been hungry for seafood at the time. I don't know.
a popular cuisine in Japan. It makes sense.
Oh yeah, true.
So saiontea is going to skip out on cutscene chest, looking to head further on to hopefully find it anywhere but there. Decision rewarded.
I believe we are still looking for one other item, though.
And I'm inclined to think this is the right call. If you already plan on going to Vitreous, if you're going to exclude one thing, let it be cutscene chest.
True.
Although dungeon items everywhere at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, saiontea is going to actually head back towards the cutscene chest, so we're not going to leave any stones unturned. Apparently, he does not want to have to come back through the dungeon.
Yeah, and I can understand that too. Mire 2 especially can be kind of rough if you're not like completely prepared for it. So if the enemies get away from you, that can be a little obnoxious. And he was just like a room or two away, so it's not too bad to check it out.
Alrighty, the slow and painful version of this torch puzzle when you have to do it with the lamp. This one always feels rough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, Link is gonna get swole doing stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's not going to need those glove upgrades anymore. He can just do that with his bare hands, lift everything.
Yeah, I guess this feat becomes a little less impressive when you realize just how large those obsidian columns are in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Like, of all the comical things, I mean, sure, Link does eat rocks in some games.
Ooh. Well, he found the flippers inside the cutscene chest, so it is going to be actually really, really good that he came all the way here to check that first.
Yeah, it may have been a flippant choice to decide to try and find it on Vitreous, but you're not going to regret that later.
Okay, so with that find, at this point, I believe the only items we still need to track down here are the bow and the fire rod.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we have outstanding in the world. Of course, if any of you haven't been watching tournament matches, we can't get those silvers, even if there is another bow in the pool somewhere. We could potentially find those bows in separate places, although I think it's very unlikely with how this seed is rolled out.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. It's just kind of pushed them along this little path here. So it's likely that this is what Sailor Nep's going to be working on next.
However, Swamp Palace becoming available off of those flippers, there are some potentially different choices about where runners could go. So I guess there is still some opportunity. I just feel like it's kind of clear that, which dungeons they're likely to do at this point.
Yeah. One thing that is also worth bringing up is at this point, the pedestal is actually available now, too. So, there is a possibility for an item. One of those two items we talked about, they could actually be on the pedestal at this point.
Yeah, I hope, I swear I hope that our runners don't want to go to Ice Palace. It's a pendant that you don't necessarily need to do.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, but it would make some pretty good viewer content. Vitreous here without the bow for saiontea. Opted for sword spins. This is a potentially lethal fight if you're not careful.
Does have that cape he can put back on if he needs to, get those last few hits in.
Doesn't have sword beam, so can't do laser eye surgery, but will end up with quite the incision, knocking down Vitreous with this combination of slashes and spins. That is another crystal, actually the first crystal for saiontea.
Yeah, that is actually our first crystal. You don't often see a first crystal from Misery Mire, but here we are.
And 47.5 minutes.
47-minute first crystal mire. Wow.
Let's go.
The dream.
Well, I mean, I would think in most circumstances, if you get that first crystal at that point, you kind of feel like you're behind. But I don't think this sea really warrants that feeling.
Yeah, I really don't, and honestly, I don't think saiontea really should be feeling too bad about this right now either, because all of his checks I think have been sensible. Routing I think has worked out well for the most part, so I got to be feeling pretty good. I guess the only thing that you could be kind of concerned with is that maybe your opponent is kind of on the same track and could be like literally right next to you, breathing down your neck, but still, it's kind of got to be feeling good at this rate. Like for him, three items from go mode, and there's still plenty of dungeons to check. So could be thinking that the rest of the items will just come to him along the way.
I'm still waiting for the Link to the Past online version of this tournament, where runners are literally side by side trying to throw each other, and
yeah. I always think about, like, especially for like qualifiers, like even if like the runners themselves couldn't see it, just having like any observers, just seeing all these links just walking around, especially through the escape portion, like that would be really cool.
I gotta say, extending this as an open call to anybody out there who has the coding know-how. But if there's a way for us to look at runs the way that Doom's speedrunners look at demos, that would be quite the innovation for the community.
Oh, that would be so cool.
I mean, of course, I've seen like overlaid video feeds before, but it ain't the same.
Right.
All right, well, a nifty ice rod strat for Sailor Nep. She will also gather her first crystal just a couple minutes after saiontea, who is also on his way to knock down the Lamola.
So this one is likely that Sailor Nep is going to be mirroring and or going back through the mirror portal to take on Mr. Mire next. Both pretty much doing the same thing, just swapping the starting dungeon for the other.
More checks we haven't seen. We're going to get the checkerboard cave for a little bit of health. Sailor Nep not opting to take that time. It's enough to have even opened the cave in the first place. Floating out, going to head on back to the portal for Mire. Interesting. saiontea not going to opt to use... Oh, it doesn't have the ice rod.
Yeah, that's right. It's still on the pyramid ledge for him.
Well, I mean, it can be easily underestimated, but Master Sword Lamola is not exactly a fast fight.
Yeah, not particularly. Got two of the heads down. There's a third one. So, not bad for the Master Sword, but that Ice Rod stress that Nep used definitely got through that fight a bit quicker on her end.
And, of course, the obligatory thing to pay attention to, how's the Mire 2? Almost there. All right, that's a wash between the two of them. Shad having a bit of a discussion about why Sailor Nep may have fluted to head back into Mire, given being at the checkerboard cave entrance, and I think the point brought up about preparing for a spooky action glitch in case you get the fire rod here is a salient point. We're still looking for that at large, and that's really the big component that Sailor Nep cares the most about at this moment. I think in those shoes, those particular boots that Nep and saiontea are wearing, you kind of expect to get railroaded into the bow.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, the desert and mire area is completely cleared for saiontea. So I imagine Swamp is going to be next on his agenda. I mean, that's the next crystal we can fully clear and get at this point. Like you said earlier, don't really want to worry about Pendant Ice right now. So yeah, and we have 6 items here in Swamp. This is more than likely the most value we can get at this point.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at item locations outstanding still, things that we can do and things that could potentially be found where, it's starting to feel a lot like there's a fire rod here in Swamp Palace. I would think either that or a bow. But I also kind of feel like, the Fire Rod opens up, the other 5/6 crystal. Maybe we see a bow and Pyramid Fairy. There's still a lot of potential variability here. And as you had mentioned earlier, even a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got to admire Sailor Nep for not doing the Spark gamble. I think it's a smart choice in the Mire lobby. So, Palace of Darkness, Palace of Swamp, um, going to afford us all of the luxuries of going fast. We have the Cane of Samaria for a diver down, or the bombs if you want to go that route. Ah, yes, chat reminding us it's the Palace of Dampness.
Oh, of course, yes. Meanwhile, it looks like Sailor Nep is actually foregoing the cutscene chest at this point, which, as we know, that does contain our flippers here, so Nep will have to go back in if she wants to grab those.
Yeah, and I gotta say, if you leave that chest, it's gonna be a while before you come back to look at it. I mean, you're pretty much gonna full clear everything available to you, which includes Dark Death Mountain. So we'll see. That Vitreous fight will not be a fun one to do, but we're going to find out real quick right after if this becomes a much more precarious situation for Sailor Nep. In the meantime, saiontea setting up for the fun, fast speed tech we like to do. I imagine we'll see a bomb dropped here to trigger the switch through the screen transition. Yep, as we flood the key. Sailor Nep will give us the cape strats. I agree with this wholeheartedly. I gotta say, Vitreous is pretty impressive at targeting you with lightning when you are literally invisible. Maybe having a larger eye does that for you.
Yeah, I guess so. That is one powerful eye.
As we see saiontea taking care of the first diver down to go to left side swamp immediately, leaving nothing on the table. We're gonna get a nifty little hook shot clip here. I like that. There's a chance of soft lock, but well done.
And Nep is going back into Mire, so will not be without those flippers.
And left side swamp today being a cache cave of sorts. saiontea probably not happy to see that, but will definitely feel comfortable having full cleared and not left anything on the table.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
More painful torches to light here for Sailor Nep, but we'll get the flippers. saiontea gonna full clear here in Swamp Palace in one go. I did not see the big key yet, I don't think.
I don't think I've seen it either, so I think that's still on the table somewhere.
I actually find it a little odd to go to not check this south room first, but I guess because we need 2 items.
And it's just the map anyway.
Yeah, so there is some potential for abandoning an item here in the big chest, which could be interesting. saiontea, I think for the thoroughness we've seen so far, will probably come back to open it, but I don't know.
I guess, again, it does kind of depend on what exactly was the intention of the other items that saiontea did skip earlier. You know, that one chest and Kakariko, and I think they didn't also do the digging game either. You know, like I didn't know if that was intentional or not, but you know, if that was intentional, could be thinking, you know, I've already skipped a few things, so I probably shouldn't skip anymore. That could be a thought on their mind right now.
I think the current thought on Saiontea's mind is, why in the world does that staircase glitch you like that?
That's not just saiontea that thinks that.
Folks who are in the arena of, or just south of the arena in Pod, probably feel the same way. You accidentally bonk into that wall, and here I go again.
Well, let's go back upstairs again.
Yeah, I mean, Link doesn't get dizzy, thankfully. That's a mechanic I'm glad this game doesn't have. Well, despite just a little bit of fumbling around for the diver down, it's still a first try for both attempts. Saiontea can opt to get this waterfall chest, which is the remaining dungeon item, so we have fully cleared the dungeon short of Argus itself.
So what is Argus going to have today? Is Swamp going to just end up being completely, well, in a strange way, dry of value, but...
Yeah, beyond being cut from crystal, there's not really anything else here.
Yeah.
Well, we've certainly seen the reputation for a damp dungeon. At this point, though, I think we're hoping more for pointy things, or potentially the explosive firepower that we really need. Double grab sword spins, a very good strat for Argus. A little bit difficult to execute just because of the lateral movement required, but Saiontea making it look pretty simple. Argus not cooperating, though. You think this is quite the buccaneer of a boss, considering that we are submerged as if, you know, Argus here is some kind of pirate, but he is going to jump ship real quick a few times, and hopefully Saiontea can repel with his cutlass.
I think I counted 4 or 5 pirate puns in that one statement.
Yar, these be rocky waters. All right, that is another crystal down for Saiontea. So taking the lead in that respect, as that is 3-2. Although at this point, I think it's just the progression we care about.
Yeah, that's true, and that is one thing that Sailor Neb does have over Saiontea right now. Does have the ice rod in her possession, which, you know, will be something considering Saiontea is going north here, so this could potentially be a pyramid check, which would be very, very ideal. But first, I guess there's some stuff down here. Oh, I wonder if this could be even an ice rod dip too.
The thing is I think checking Lake Hylia Island here might actually be the thing that pulls Saiontea away from the pyramid. I could totally see a flute away from this, or even like the hobo.
It is going back in the mirror portal, so...
Thankfully for the folks out there who don't think it's going to be on the pedestal, we're not going to dump our time into Ice Palace here either. Saiontea's still going to have to walk, but this will be a portal preserved to walk straight to the pyramid, so good routing choice in my opinion. I maybe would have checked hobo first, but, you know, it worked.
Oh yeah, that's correct. I don't think Saiontea's done anything with the Zora area yet.
Yeah, sitting on a very healthy level of dividends from the investment of money that the Hyruleans have poured in. 1,500 rupees, more than you could ever hope for.
Okay, so Saiontea will be picking up the ice rod, so is currently, I'd say, because of that, is the outright leader in both respects in terms of items and crystal clears, but as you can see, Sailor Neb's not far behind, as she's actually wrapping up the rest of Swamp Palace at this point.
Yeah, it's been made pretty clear throughout most of the race that saiontea has had at least like some kind of slight advantage in terms of having skipped a couple things that weren't necessary, but it hasn't been, much of an outright lead as far as, like you mentioned, crystals, progression items. They've kept this competitive all the way through, even matching steps with the glitch staircase in Swamp Palace, I'm noticing.
Oh, yep, I noticed that too.
Kind of odd to carry that block through the staircase, though. I'm not sure what that was all about. So maybe a good like half an hour now we've been searching for this fire rod and bow in particular. I'm very curious to see where we're going to find it.
Well, let's see. At this point, like it's either going to be in Pendant Ice Palace, and we still have the dark side of Death Mountain to check out as well. And I don't think we've even touched the Smith Chain either. So those are like the three things that come to mind right now, at least.
Oh goodness, or maybe even Turtle Rock.
That's true. We do have all the means to enter Turtle Rock. Could get locked out pretty quickly, but sometimes just, one item could be in that first chest that could progress the seeds. So that very well could be a possibility as well.
Or gosh, even the really awful scenario where you get every key you need to go all the way to the back.
True, that also can happen.
Well, I hope for our runners that isn't the case. Chat might appreciate that scenario, but it's on the table. That pedestal, everything. I mean, it's still surprisingly quite open for an hour and 5 in. Who said there's no divergence in a standard seed? The seed rebukes you.
Okay, we do get a save and quit from saiontea after checking all of the Zora checks. Going to the Sanctuary, I'm guessing this is going to be a King's Tomb check, and then from there, probably fluting off to somewhere else.
But come to think of it, I don't know if we've actually seen these yet.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. We did see Bonk Rocks earlier, but we did not see King's Tomb.
And I think that leaves Graveyard Ledge a bit stranded at this point.
Yeah. If this is kind of like where saiontea is going to be focusing, could be opting to take care of that like right before or maybe even after the blacksmith quest. But looks like going back to the mountain. I think we're going to Dark Death Mountain now.
Now we are seeing little bits of execution difference between the two. Say they're not well known for strong boss fights. We happen to see a pretty nice recovery on the Argus fight in the second phase, and time saved over saiontea as a 4-hit, 1 phase or 1 cycle second phase. Certainly does save a lot of time overall in the fight. If Sailor Nep can keep that up and eventually suss out these 2 remaining items, I think there's a chance Sailor Nep overtakes saiontea later on in the seed.
Yeah, I think so too. Kind of going back to something we were talking about at the beginning of the race, just in terms of the qualifier rank for both of these runners, Sailor Nep actually finished, I believe, 11th in the qualifiers. So, had to get through some really, really remarkable performances to get to that rank. saiontea being one of 3 cases where it was just below the 128 cutoff line with a 130th rank. Managed to get into this tournament through some of the drops that people had to, unfortunately, just could not participate in the tournament. So was able to make it through into the group stage and, still managed to pull off a Game 1 win. So definitely kudos to saiontea for that and is showing his skill still in this match as well. So definitely a very, very, very closely matched race here, despite what would be looked at as a huge difference in the rank.
And despite their, relative difference in rank, look at the difference in their route right now. We're going to see Dark Mountain and Ice Palace, a Pendant Ice Palace out of Sailor Nep. Is this hedging the bet for the pedestal, or is this just a dense item location?
Yeah, we'll have to see with this, and with this pendant, pedestal is on the table. So, Fire Rod or Ice Rod on bow on pedestal, that could be huge swing because saiontea doesn't even have the green pendant from Hera yet.
All right, we're gonna get a hookshot cave here out of saiontea. This would be probably the most item dense fast location you can get while you're on this route, and nothing here on Dark Death Mountain. Do you check Turtle Rock in this scenario?
I say you're here. I would personally go for it at this point. I mean, fastest scenario, you'd be locked out immediately in the very first chest, and you at least know that, okay, well, you know, Fire Rod's not going to be in here at this point. So it's good to just kind of get that information now, honestly.
All right, well, the important question I think on everybody's mind, chat included, Slim, I gotta ask you, is this like a green ice palace or a yellow ice palace? I mean, are my eyes deceiving me?
I'm seeing more green than yellow, but, you know, green and yellow are pretty kind of similar-ish colors. That floor is definitely yellow, though.
Yeah, that is Pac-Man incarnate. Lemon lime slushy palace. I'm all about it.
Green apple palace, yeah, something like that.
Well, interesting development here in Turtle Rock. We have the key we need to continue on. Will we find another in Chain Chomp's room, or is it going to be like a fabled progressive item here? And drum roll, it is junk.
Ooh, okay, so we are done. So we know that the Fire Rod's not going to be in here. Bo could still very well be here at some point, but we're not going to be able to check anything else until we get that Fire Rod. And I believe, yep, saiontea is going to go back over to Tower of Hera to finish up that dungeon, get that green pendant, and could be thinking about heading into Ice Palace soon as well. And if there is something here in Ice Palace, that could be kind of a swing for Sailor Nep, kind of overtaking the lead here.
Yeah, as we're kind of being forced into this route, Turtle Rock kind of closing the gap on some of the things that we could possibly find. We're going to see a double dip here into Tower of Hera now that saiontea's up in the top of the mountain, though, and another item left behind. This could also be a huge swing. It's a one-off location, but, you know, Firelocked Fire would not be out of the question in Randomizer.
That's true.
Ice Palace basically complete at this point, though. Sailor Nep has a potentially risky fight. Bombos and no Fire Rod. It's not like we're going to be short for magic. Oh, and it sounds like I may have been wrong about item locations here in Tower of Hera. This is the big key, I believe. So unless the big chest has something, although it sounds like both items have been gathered by Nep already.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think they have, because I do remember seeing a 50 in the, I think it's the compass chest, so...
Alright, so full complete from saiontea, perhaps just not wanting to do the Hera Pod or thinking that there's an item potentially missable. That is an admissible fight here from Sailor Nep for the green 20, presumably the other male upgrade, but potentially something else.
So with that knowledge, Sailor Nep, this is actually going to be some very nice routing for Sailor Nep as well. I'd almost give the advantage exclusively to her at this point, because not only is she going to be heading to Kakariko to check the pedestal, but that's going to get her to check the Smith chain as well, since she'll be in the area, and that's going to more than likely be where the answer is, as we know the Dark Death Mountain is not going to be yielding our reward here today.
I'm struggling to think of what else we have available to us. I mean, I don't know if it's the pendant or the pedestal, the guaranteed answer, but we are very short on answers at this point.
Yeah, I honestly do not think there is anything else aside from either pedestal or Smith chain.
Or Graveyard Ledge, I guess.
Oh, right, yep, Graveyard Ledge too. And K45 as well, I believe.
All right, we're going to find out. Here is the moment SpeedGaming chat always waits for. The pedestal itself, the answer today to the riddle, is not going to be here. That is a piece of heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really rough break for Sailor Nep, as that was an entire Ice Palace clear.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, at this point, it's looking like saiontea might have that same thing. Now, we do know that pedestal is not the answer, so if saiontea does make the trip over to Village of Outcasts, that's going to at least help him not get sucked into Ice Palace, but again, Ice Palace has got to be, it's a dungeon. It's got to be calling his name to some extent.
Yeah, you have everything you need to make it nice besides the Fire Rod. Yeah, I mean, that's about as much as you could hope for. That being said, though, I mean that's not a guarantee, as there's still outstanding locations. Ice Palace had nothing to give us any other indication. So, saiontea goes for the Smith chain next. This might be like neck and neck again, or even those mirror locations. Kind of a weird scenario where that mirror showed up kind of late.
Yeah. It's always good to have that mirror for when you're doing like the Smith chain for sure, but still, even if the mirror locations aren't too far, you still have to go all the way north to get to the graveyard ledge, and you kind of might have to walk down to the purple chest location just because you won't be able to save and quit usually. So it's still a little bit of inconvenience there, even if it does make the overall chain a little faster.
Oh, this is interesting. saiontea head north out of the Village of Outcast portal. I was thinking we were going to see the Smith chain from saiontea, so he will actually... Oh, that's the fire rod, though.
Ooh, there it is. That's one of the two items we're looking for. What if the bow just ended up being here, honestly?
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, Sailor Nep would be very inclined to not go that direction with that purple chest. So things still outstanding. The purple chest having a bow would definitely be the death knell. We're getting a sword here.
Okay, sword's pretty nice. There is still another one potentially in the... Oh my gosh, there's the bow.
All right, so I guess the deciding factor here, and I really think the most critical juncture of this race, is what saiontea does next. If saiontea is going to go straight for that Smith chain, the sword advantage might be enough to tip this in his favor.
Yeah, that is true. It'll be Master Sword Silverless versus Tempered Silverless, and that's quite a difference there, honestly. That's 24 hits versus 12.
Because I got to think, like, unless we find that sword in GT, and depending on the big key, seems unlikely. You could find it as well while you're clearing out the remaining crystals, but there's not much else we're going to do in that regard. I would say the odds are actually probably against Nep finding the sword if the GT big key is available early.
Right. But we did talk about this. Sailor Nep does have some pretty strong execution, so could be well versed in Master Sword strats for the rest of the seeds. So definitely, it's definitely a race here at this point. Let's be real. This is going to be a really exciting race. Watching this to the end.
Yeah, in terms of players I've seen who can execute well enough to hold off a sword difference in terms of disadvantage, I think Sailor Nep ranks highly in that regard. 11th seed overall entering this group's phase, as you mentioned previously. A little bit of unfortunate Gibdo bouncing there, but definitely the kind of person who's qualified enough to do it. I don't know about you, I just felt my adrenaline course through my veins.
Well, there is a problem. saiontea did not get the purple chest.
Oh, no. Alright, so I guess that could potentially not be catastrophic. I mean, we're going to see a Skull Woods clear here at the minimum. saiontea basically has K45 as the other mirror location. Not a whole lot else available. The problem is that he could go all the way to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and at this point, like, we didn't find any items out of Turtle Rock when we did take that small dive into it, so could be wanting to bank on that being the bow location. Now, there is still another bow in play. That is something else to consider, but at this point, like, again, Sailor Nep's just going to be making forward progress straight through the seed, not going to be trying to check any extra locations. So that's going to be the difference, is that bow would have to be pretty immediate at that point.
Did we find an item on Mothula?
I admit I did not. That fight came and gone so quickly.
Because I will say that is the one remaining item location possibility. There was an item we did not have going into the back of the dungeon.
Apparently Moth had the big key, so...
Interesting. Okay, so I mean, for how few locations could potentially have the bow outside of GT, that's still on the table. Although I think it'd be quite the long shot to hope for a bow here in Skullwoods.
Oh, you die. There's no long shot in this game.
Yes, we can pull off an extension, or at least, pull that back and knock one, but we certainly can't extend our reach beyond that. Alrighty, that is a very fast Mothula fight with that Tempered Sword, but Tempered Sword fights alone probably not going to close a gap here. Sailoring up with a clear route to the end of the seed with Go Mode.
Yep, and saiontea going back into Skull Woods to fish out that remaining item we have left. If it's not here, it's going to be in the big chest. But Sailor Nep heading straight to the back. Going to have to grab a key from, I believe, the chest here on the left. But once then, can go straight to Helmosaur King.
Key turning out to be a bit of a red herring for saiontea. Going to have to check the big chest at this point. You are near desperate for that bow. Gonna get a quick swap from Sailor Nep entering into the basement. No menus required in Palace of Darkness these days. Yeah, this is a rough situation for saiontea. Sailor Nep opting to route in basically both of these dungeons together and then a straight shot to Turtle Rock. No extra time spent in Turtle Rock. It's pretty much just do the right side of the lobby.
And big chest will not be our answer today. And we'll see what happens to saiontea here. Not mirroring and fluting just yet, so it looks like is going back south to take the purple chest, but again, just this extra time while Sailor Nep is about to get her 5th crystal. You know, it is looking, the gap is definitely quite a bit wider than it was when we first found that Tempered Sword, so.
And I think the tough part about this is that you're very likely to go all the way to Cave 45 and walk the chest, so I mean, that's even more time.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Helmosaur King down for Sailor Nep. She is moving onwards with the powder in hand, which actually really hurts saiontea's chances here. The more safeties available to Sailor Nep, the less window there is for, potential mishaps.
Right.
A mocking 10 arrows here in K45 as saiontea continues the hunt. Sailor Nep jumping into Eastern Palace. We've already been here. We've already cleared out pretty much everything. And with boots in hand, I would say in hand, but I guess on feet, we're going to dash our way through here very quickly.
Yes, we will.
I mean, I guess you could put them on your hands. It's just, unless you're a horse, that doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any distinction between, I guess, hind and forelegs? Yeah, never mind. Answer my own question. Horse don't have hands there, you die.
Okay, so both runners are in go mode at this point. Literally, the only difference between these two runners moving forward is that Tempered Sword advantage that saiontea has. And here's the thing, Sailor Nep could still eventually run into a sword along the way, perhaps in either Turtle Rock or GT. So, that could also just kind of keep the gap the way it is right now. But we'll have to see how Saion executes the rest of the seed to at least kind of make up some time back. Don't know if it's going to be enough just yet. There are still a couple of factors still in play. GT routing could come into play as well. But as long as Sailor Nep kind of keeps her mind forward in what she's doing in the seed, focuses on her execution, which we know she's strong at, looking pretty good at this point.
Yeah, the route to victory for Sailor Nep is, don't spend time trying to look for that sword unless it's absolutely going to be, in your path. And the route to victory for saiontea is to hope for, a mistaken execution from Sailor Nep. It doesn't necessarily have to be a death or a fall, but like a large blunder or two in routing for GT would probably be the thing that would give saiontea an opportunity to close some of the gap. But we were closing in very quickly on Turtle Rock.
Wow, so we had the powder on Helmosaur and the mushroom on Armos.
Yeah, everything we would need to want to head back over to the northeast corner of the world, but short of maybe a potion fill up if we had used any. No reason for us to go check those things. Maybe that's the sword, though. Magic bat, you know? Or maybe the mushroom, and this ends up being the laughter thing we see in the credits.
Right.
Wow, so that makes for a hefty 3-dungeon lead right now for Sailor Nap. Soon to be 2. I mean, this is a pretty quick finish here, and saiontea will definitely finish Eastern fast, but still speaks to Sailor Nap's execution.
Yeah, definitely, and make it a point of what's been said in chat here. I mean, we're Sailor Nep's approaching Turtle Rock at just a little under the 130 mark. Sailor Nep's cleared every single dungeon, with the exception of Aga Tower, obviously, and I think that's a pretty incredible feat, clearing that many dungeons in this amount of time in Randomizer, where you have like the possibility of doing double dips and kind of going all over the world to find items in places where you don't expect them. I honestly think that's a really, really strong feat from her.
Yeah, it's not exactly easy. I mean, like, you think about NMG clearing out the game in hour 22 to hour 45 for the average person. Well, I guess for the world record to the average person.
Yeah.
That is quite a spread. There's a lot of variance in this game and the ability to adapt to different things. Throw in Randomizer on top of that. Yeah, that's crazy. For this context, we are, of course, clearing every single dungeon for Sailor Nap. Well, speaking of every single dungeon, we're into the last one that holds a dungeon reward. Turtle Rock here. Of course, we'll have GT as well. saiontea opting to do a bunch of slashes to finish off the Helmasaur King. Still has Armos to kill. This really feels like Anger Dungeon when you walk in with that palette.
Yeah.
Or love, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like a lightish red. Is it a pink? There's a red versus blue reference in here somewhere. Well, here's one of a few locations that Sailor Nap can get a sword. We, of course, have a key we're expecting here, and a big key as well. So that makes it very likely that we're going to see a full go mode version of this dungeon. Slight mishap from saiontea getting the but a good recovery with sword beams as we see Sailor Nap continuing on through the dungeon. I feel like not getting punished for slashing while on a platform when literally every single time I do it, I fall off. Hey, I mean, these runners are clearly qualifying for reasons. All right, that's the last key depleted available to us. Of course, we're going to gather more as we continue on. I would think maybe skipping the lava chest. I mean, do you open that chest if all you need would be a sword?
I think at this point you probably would not worry about it. I mean, you've been through qualifiers where most likely like Master Sword is all you're going to get, and the third one could be somewhere in the world. So we've seen a lot of Master Sword Silveros Ganon fights in the qualifiers and just in this tournament already. I feel like you probably don't want to really worry about it at this point. You just kind of want to get things done and finish. And it looks like, yep, not going after that lava chest.
Yeah, good call considering what's on the table. Unless that happens to be the sword that could have saved the time, it's basically the safest decision to make.
And that is saiontea's 6th crystal, going to be heading right back up the mountain, back to Turtle Rock. We'll save a little bit of time because we'll have to go after that first small key that was on the left side. So we'll just have to go straight to the right, and then we'll have to worry about the chest in the chain chomp room either, since we already got that too. Yeah,
so small time saves available to saiontea for having made the double dip. obviously a net loss, but we're happy to take what we can if you're a saiontea fan. For those who want to see a game 3, though, cheering loudly and proudly from the stands, I imagine, as Sailor Nep is in a commanding position to win this race. Alrighty, a light bit of cape usage on the platform maze here. Sailor Nep looking at about half of a half magic meter. So 4 times the magic you'd need. Or something like that. I'm not good at math. And neither is the bat, for that matter. Alright, we find another bottle here on the laser bridge. A green 20. That might be health, I think. So no sword here in Turtle Rock available unless it was on that lava ridge and I miscounted keys. Sailor Nep going to move on towards the Trinex fight. It is a little slower with Master Sword, but not to the point where you'd be worried about that.
Yeah, the thing you got to remember is that hammer does tempered sword damage, basically. So being able to use that hammer in place of the tempered sword will basically yield the same results. You do have kind of the switching between items you have to worry about, but if you have the timing down, it won't waste that much extra time.
Yep, and smoothly done here by Sailor Nep, and then getting the fire rod switch. Very nicely done. I'm going to opt to just straight burn down with a couple of slashes here. I mean, 2 attack phases, that's pretty good. That's about as good as I would ever hope for a Master Sword. Oh boy. That was a little scary.
Does cut that a little close, but does make it through the fight, and with that, we have 7 crystals in hand for Sailor Nep.
Well, folks, you know the drill. There are 22 item locations in Ganon's Tower. We want to play a game with you. Go ahead and take a guess where you think we're going to find that big key, of course, based on Sailor Nep's routing throughout the dungeon. Go ahead and get your guesses in. Slim, where do you think we're gonna find it?
I would personally like to see this be interesting. Since we're going with Sailor Nep as the one we're looking for the key with, I'm gonna say it's gonna be let's go with 19 in this case.
Oh boy, that is a spicy GT big key. I threw in a guess at 12 just to hopefully not get sniped, but I'm partial to finding it on the chest right before Ice Armos.
The thing I'm kind of trying to get at here is, like, maybe one takes a left side check, the other one takes a right side check first. Maybe that could kind of swing the race back to a more even front, potentially.
Yeah, and speaking of slight differences in time, well, not slight, I mean, I guess that one took quite a bit. Sailor Nep went into Hookshot Cave to check for that last sword. Chad arguing that's a reasonable check. I agree. The time saved over time invested is pretty, good. But yeah, that's more opportunity back to saiontea. All right, we're going to cut this off here.
Sailor Nep is going straight left, finds a small key on the torch.
Yep, so that's the first item location available to us. You didn't see Hope Room, which is a little more common from most runners, but we might be seeing a combat avoidance strat here in the Stalfos room. Two will be an arrow, 3 a green rupee. Truly the drunk Phil living up to the name. 20 rupees green for 4, and then 5 is a small key. Yeah, and it looks like Sailor Nep opting to avoid the combat on the left side.
Ooh, and there is the big key.
All right, chest number 6. Sailor Nep really not going to have a lot more opportunities for a sword at this point, which may or may not make a difference, but it's definitely something we want to pay attention to here.
And I believe in that hope room, it was just a big key and not a small key. So saiontea will need to make sure that he picks up another small key before heading straight up. But thankfully, again, there's one right on the torch, so there's not one too far away from it.
All right, a big shout out and congratulations to Brutask for guessing correctly chest number 6. 30 points to Gryffindor, or I guess the house of your choice. Alrighty, Master Sword Gauntlet. Not exactly super difficult, but there are a couple of enemies you can't get in one slash as opposed to Tempered Sword. Sailor Nap, definitely no stranger to this, and wow, saiontea, watch yourself here.
Is opting to use that blue potion just to get his health back. Honestly, not a bad idea. Just make sure you get through the fight, I'd say at this point.
Alright, that should be enough. saiontea will finish up the fight. So, looking at the time differences here, I mean, I imagine saiontea is pretty likely to at least look at Hope Room first. We'll have to still get a small key. That was a little bit of time lost for Sailor Nep if saiontea goes right first. This is narrowing a lot more than I thought it would.
Yeah, I believe we had about a 5-minute difference, heading into Turtle Rock. Now it's about like a 4-minute difference at this point, because it was around it was about 1:30 when Sailor Nep left Turtle Rock, from what I remember. So it's narrowing a little bit, but as Sailor Nep finishes up Land Mode 2, still sitting pretty comfortably, I'd say, heading up to the final parts of this game. So we'll see what saiontea can do in GT, see if make it a little more time at the very least.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting only the time, catching up to happen really with the Ganon fight. So I mean, a credit to saiontea staying as competitive as possible here. I imagine though that the struggles with Trinex didn't help. There was an opportunity there.
Yeah.
All right, Sailor Nep will have to wait for the jingle timer, hopefully. Oh, gonna go right for it. All right, risking a potential despawn, but I think she had plenty of time there. Good news for saiontea, gonna get that big key immediately. Book and health coming up empty here at the top of the tower. 2 more item checks possible. Is Moldorm 2 the keeper of time differentials? Oh, jeez.
Did get a nasty hit in there, but did not knock Sailor Nep to the next floor, so is able to finish that up. Checks the Moldorm 2 chest for just a red rupee, and Sailor Nep is moving on to Aga 2.
Yeah, the vanilla 20 there is a little bit insulting for, a runner who's hoping to find something there. But you know what? We've made it this far. Haven't seen a dot done in the racetime.gg room. You just got to go for gold here.
Yeah, pretty much.
And speaking of getting some gold, hoping to get the first win of the series for Sailor Nep. Playing for the top rank in the group currently. Was the first seed to start. So Sailor Nep looking to hopefully secure game 3 here. All right, some weirdness with the cycle patterns there, but Sailor Nep handling it adeptly. Going to move on to the Ganon fight. Master Sword Ganon Silverless, certainly not a free fight, although I think Sailor Nep is probably very well practiced.
Yeah, it seems like whenever I watched or turned any of the qualifiers on, there were a lot of runners doing Master Sword Silverless, so I imagine that's something a lot of these runners must be pretty used to at this point and practicing for these particular settings.
Well, we'll see. We're going to see a Samaria strat here from Sailor Nep, which is definitely the fast way to do the first cycle, or maybe not. Just Samaria out in case of a specific position, maybe?
Yeah, potentially.
Well, second warp position is definitely favorable, but that's possibly not enough. Oh boy, 2 hearts to work with here. All right, that is the last blue potion, so there's no more health refill for Sailor Nep at this point.
And here's the phase I dread when doing Master Sword Silverless right here.
Yo, I am a little upset with Nep here for being this risky. I mean, that is a hug away from catastrophe.
Okay, that's a good position at least.
Super gutsy, though. Yeah, going for the quick swap on that is something I don't recommend, but you know what? Sailor Nep managed to get it before the last heart was depleted, so good enough.
Yep, all I need to do is just make it to this point.
Oh, I guess we had another blue potion. Okay, no, I stand corrected. Sailor Nep in a confident position from here, I think. Well, tanking several health meters worth. We're moving on to phase 4. Almost falling off. It's gonna take just a handful or two of spins here. Shouldn't have an issue with magic, because I think we still have a green potion.
I believe so, yeah. The saiontea does enter the Aga 2 fight.
Yeah, all that's left here is for Sailor Nep to clutch this out. Assuming that the phase 4 works well, this will be enough. But if not, I would give this to saiontea with almost certainty. All right, a number of close calls, but Nep has not taken any damage in phase 4.
Aga 2 is down for saiontea.
Looking pretty smooth. I think Sailor Nep's got this, but a slight miss here. So many spins. How do you not get dizzy?
That's a question for Ganon, not me.
Fair. Alrighty. saiontea jumps into the Ganon fight.
And there it is.
Wow, quite a battle to finish this one out. Sailor Nep going to manage to clutch this out with a difference of probably a minute or two. Finishing with an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 44 seconds. GG.
Yeah, get your GGs in chat, everybody. That was a extraordinary finish here, as Sailor Nep clutches the victory, and we'll bring this series to a game 3.
Yeah, that's proven the value of being the first seed. You know, you got to live up to the expectation and win your match. And Sailor Nep pulling off exactly that. She will move on, as you mentioned, to game 3, forcing this out of saiontea, who also had a pretty solid race as well today. We'll see saiontea finishing up his phase 4 with just 12 sword spins here. The Tempered Sword plus Fire Rod combo makes this a pretty fast finish. With a pretty good lineup for the next sword spin, just needs to looks like he's going to wait for the actual movement of Ganon here. That's a smart decision. Unfortunately, getting a blue cycle on that. saiontea, I think just a few more spins. Alrighty, lined up for the next one. A little late on that. We'll have to light the torch one more time, I think. Or twice.
And there it is. It's going to be about what you said, about a 2-minute difference between both of our runners here, and about 5 minutes going into Turtle Rock. So managed to pull, at least 3 of those minutes back having that Tempered Sword.
Yeah, an impressive finish from both of our runners, so GG to saiontea as well. Looks like we are actually joined for the interview by Sailor Nep. Congratulations and GG, that was a fantastic race.
Thanks. I was definitely watching the last 10 minutes of that while my delay went back, and so I did see the thing about giving Chad a heart attack during the Ganon fight.
Certainly some close calls.
Yeah. When it really comes down to it is just, as far as I was looking at it, I didn't have the luxury to play it safe. I was going to do the cane strats, but I kind of got bad positions, and I was out of position every time I could have tried, so I just gave up on that, and I tanked damage instead. I was mindful of how much I had, so I knew what I was dealing with.
I may have been contributing to the heart attack by leading chat to believe there's one less potion in play. So, I mean, you knew what you were doing. Obviously, you qualified for this tournament for a reason.
Right. Oh, but this one, I gotta say, for me, the most important thing was the fact that after clearing out Mire, I went back in for that last chest.
Yeah, that could have been disastrous.
I was really tempted to leave it because I had so many other places open. I don't know why. I had this feeling that I just needed to go back in.
Yeah, well, it was most certainly good that you did, because those flippers were going to be very important. I don't think they actually necessarily led anything else aside from just general game progression, but still did definitely need those.
Yeah, they were required for Swamp Palace, but otherwise the flippers didn't lead to anything. That's unfortunate, because that led to me full clearing a go-modable Swamp Palace. I did Ice Palace, pulled the pedestal, all the exciting stuff.
Also, we've forced a game 3. Sailor Nap, have we had any communication between you and saiontea about when that might be?
We decided we would schedule it if needed, and so now that we're there, we'll figure it out, I'm sure. But if I had to guess, it'll probably be in the next few days, probably the same general time of day.
Well, that's exciting. I think everybody who's been keeping an eye on this matchup definitely wants to see how the conclusion of it goes. It was competitive for both races, so we're excited to see what comes from that.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to playing it. Hard standard's a lot of fun for me.
I just like that we get the uncle text.
Yeah, they've added some good new ones pretty recently.
So yeah, I guess keep your eye on this. You want to see the exciting conclusion of this matchup for, I guess, the 1 and 4 seed side of Group M. And there's still also the second group into this group as well, McLagging versus PRD Wong. That should also be another very exciting matchup as well. So definitely seems like one of the more contested groups of this tournament. All 4 names I recognize and names I've seen, and pretty much every tournament so far. So should be very, very interesting to see how this group plays out.
Yeah, there have been a lot of exciting matches in general so far, and I think that's something I've missed since we haven't had a big tournament in just a little while, just constantly matches being on to tune in and watch.
Yeah, definitely could not agree any more than that.
Well, it seems like we won't be seeing an interview out of saiontea, but I wanted to ask you, Sailor Nap, Kane of Samaria start was interesting to see, but do you have a favorite standard opening?
When it comes to items, like if it's just this item will be in my inventory, it's going to be the Cane of Samaria, because I feel like if the Cane of Samaria shows up real late in a run, that often causes problems for my routing style. But so getting that was a good feeling. When it comes to just the actual play part of it, I like getting bombs as a start, because that way you never have to farm for bombs, and you get to do the cool setups.
Yeah, and being extra judicious with your magic is, interesting to watch. You can use the same block for multiple things. I also find it to be pretty interesting. One thing we noticed with this race today is that there was quite a lot of available dungeons and locations that weren't necessarily full completable, but open to you very early on. I mean, you had Dark World access in the first 10 minutes, if I recall correctly.
By the end of Kakariko, actually, and with the flute, there was suddenly an overwhelming amount of stuff open. It was very hard to make. What would have been the best play would probably have been go to Village of Outcasts, get the boots, and then kind of just rush Pod and Eastern. But I could not imagine doing that. That would have been way too risky. Would have been a really fast seed for a spoiler log, though.
Yeah. Well, certainly an exciting show for us today. An hour 40 minutes and looking at a completion rate of 165 kind of blows my mind. That's a lot of items for a shorter amount of time. So I mean, a hard fought battle today. We saw every dungeon out of you, which definitely speaks to your caliber of play. I think you were just a heart piece short of the maximum equipment count, and of course that sword. We of course found that sword in Graveyard Ledge. I'm wondering if the other one must have been in GT then.
Yeah, I would guess either that or Pyramid Fairy if we ever saw that. I know I didn't do it. Because there are not a lot of spots left.
Yeah, considering like both of the items that you two needed were just kind of like in the same chain basically. So yeah, no one was going to be able to check that Pyramid Fairy at that point unless, again, just kind of shooting for a Hail Mary or something for, I guess in your case, a third sword, but unfortunately you were just kind of focused on the end at that point, and saiontea obviously found his sword right before that when he checked Graveyard Ledge. So yeah, I don't think those Pyramid Fairy locations were going to get checked.
Yeah, no. I really wanted to just kind of commit to Master Sword and hope to maybe find a sword on the path in GT, but I was like, I think it's very likely that my opponent will have at least checked Hookshot Cave, probably Super Bunny, so I didn't skip them. And I'm like, well, I could have, but I still stand by that decision. I think just to make sure I don't bleed off a lot of time with that, it was good for me to check it.
Yeah, and you had boots, you had, the items required. It's certainly a good time investment if you have the opportunity to get the item.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to make the call even then, though, because it felt like I needed to save every second I could, because with doing all the pendant dungeons and them all being empty, I did feel like there was a good chance I was behind. In terms of actual playing, I played really well. I routed well. My routing wasn't a mess or anything. I just went the wrong places in the wrong order.
Yeah, if anything, I'd almost say, like, in a strange way, kind of clearing all the pendants actually did kind of put you on the right track a little sooner. saiontea actually did jump into Hera a little bit early on, but did not commit to finishing it. So after he finished Swamp, he actually went up to Dark Death Mountain to get those items, and then, of course, clear off Tower of Hera, while you obviously went straight to Ice Palace, and that kind of puts you towards the pedestal. And at that point, you were close to the Smith Chain, so that kind of, in a sense, helped you out in a way. So it's kind of cool how that did kind of play into the fact that even though you did end up clearing all those dungeons, it did kind of at least put you on the right track for those items a lot sooner.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting spot after Swamp, because I thought, in a sense, it's probably better to do the Smith Chain, but at the same time, I was thinking, okay, we've had Bombos all this time. The 5 rod still hasn't showed up. Is it really going to be somewhere that easy? And today the answer was yes.
Well, hey, I mean, it wasn't until pretty late in the race that we could really, get a clear sense of, who was going to come out ahead, or at least, take the lead. With the sword being a question for quite a while, that was certainly up in the air. It looks like we do have another broadcast coming on here in a couple of minutes, so we should probably do our wrap-up and business end of things. We do still, of course, have more Randomizer on the schedule for today. I say as I don't have it up right away.
Well, in that case, I'll just say real quick, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it, and thanks everybody for their hard work.
Hey, our pleasure, and thanks again for putting on this race. But looking forward to the schedule today. We do have more races going on. I think there's a 5-10 currently on right now at SpeedGaming 2. We have, of course, the next game on this schedule, or on this channel, which won't be linked to the past randomizer. Be welcome to tune into it as well, because Final Fantasy. But for ALTTPR, we have this SG3 Falcon versus Sea Studer on at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also have 8:10 on ALTTP Randomizer between Relkin and Hydropower. SpeedGaming on this channel at 8:10 will be New York Rambler versus Flipfield. And a couple more matches going on later on. 9:10 GFE 12 versus Imosaru. And Moogle Charm versus Alizoon at 10:10 p.m. on this channel. Lastly, at 12:10 a.m., same channel, Apathy Duck versus Wall Kicks. I've ranted on enough. Slim, if you want to close this out.
Okay, sure thing. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for all the matches we have coming up. Big thank you to our tracker for this match, Dark Diplomat. Made sure all those buttons were pressed when we needed them to be. And thanks to you guys for watching. This has been Slim Kirby, and I am signing out.
And I've been Udiamonistic. Thank you for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time.